What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chris. Some call me Howie. You can call me either or. And today's video, I'm kind of aiming this towards newer riders, or maybe people that have just gotten their license or in the process of getting their license, and they're looking at purchasing their first motorcycle. So a little bit about me. I've been riding since I was roughly 9 years old. I'm 36 now. You could do the math. I've owned my first motorcycle when I was 13. It was obviously dirt bike. My whole past was growing up riding dirt bikes, which, if possible and you have the time, I do believe that off-road is the absolute best way to start your motorcycle journey. Not saying that you can't do it. This is all subjective, by the way. This is just my personal feelings of how I feel. There are plenty of people who only ride street, only want to ride street, and that is completely fine. I do think the off-road does give some advantages as far as terrain and challenges. You know, when the road's slippery, when there's sand on the road, you get used to stuff like that. I don't even see it as an issue when I'm riding street. So anyway, let's get going. As you can see, I do have quite a few motorcycles to choose from. Beautiful BMW. That's kind of just a showpiece. That thing's just going to sit on a stand. But today, we're riding the Harley-Davidson Street Glide. So, let's get to it. Okay, now that we are on the road and out of my crazy mess of a driveway right now with that giant dumpster, doing some home repairs and had to get rid of a bunch of concrete, so we needed that. But anyway, if you are brand new to motorcycling and you are looking to purchase your first motorcycle, the number one thing that I want to talk about is don't get caught up in, you know, I don't want to buy a small bike. I want a bike I can grow into. You know, I see this a lot. You know, I don't want to buy the 500cc. I want to buy the 1000cc. I know I'll take my time, but then I'll have that bike forever, or I'll enjoy it for many years. I don't want to have to go through and sell the 250 or the 500 a year down the line and get another bike. Don't fall into that. Okay? I've been riding for many years, over 20 years now, and I can tell you right now, I myself could have a good time on a 250cc motorcycle. Okay, I mean, there are people out there who only care about horsepower and that's it. Motorcycling is so much more than that. It is so much more than that. In fact, if you were in a different country, somewhere like, you know, just over in Europe or in India, you wouldn't even have the option of these big giant motorcycles that we have here in the States. Is that stopping people from riding? Nope, it's not. So, don't let that fool you. Find a bike that you are physically comfortable on. You know, everybody is different. Some people like cruisers, some people like an upright, like a dirt bike style position. Some people like sport bikes. Find something that you are physically comfortable on, and my recommendation is start with a smaller motor. It's going to be more manageable, easier to control, and it's not going to intimidate you so much. And again, like, I've been riding for a long time. I could still have a great time on these smaller displacement motors. Don't worry about it. Just find a bike you're comfortable on and go from there. Another thing that's amazing about these so-called starter motorcycles, or these entry-level motorcycles, is they hold their value extremely well. That is something that I've seen it's been this way for a long time. They don't lose their value like many other bikes do. So go into it, buy the bike that you are most comfortable with. Don't worry about engine size. Don't worry about, you know, oh, am I going to get bored with it? If you do, no big deal. You get to buy another bike. It's actually kind of a fun process, you know, and it's easy to sell these beginner bikes or these entry-level bikes. Or keep it. Maybe you want two bikes. As you can see, I have more than one. You know, if you're financially able, do it. Next thing, where I live, I'm in Massachusetts. They have a rider safety course that you can do, which you could start with no experience, and by the end of the class you will walk away with your license. I highly recommend it. If you live in a state that you can do it, it's far worth the investment to do it. I don't think they're very expensive. I don't know the exact cost, but trust me, the knowledge is definitely worth it. All right, my next tip is going to be, when you decide to make that purchase of your first motorcycle, buy it knowing that you're going to do silly stuff with it. You're going to drop it. You're going to scratch things on it. You will rob yourself of so much joy if you buy a bike that you are petrified to scratch or to drop it. Don't worry. I mean, this is another reason why I love starting with an off-road bike. You know, those bikes are going to hit the dirt. You know, you're gonna fall. You're gonna do things like just go to put your foot down and realize it's a little bit further away than you thought, and you're gonna stumble and the bike's gonna fall. Let the bike fall. Don't hurt yourself trying to catch it. So I actually recommend this for anything you're getting into. Like, we recently just got into boating. Boats are expensive, a lot more expensive than motorcycles. I used to think motorcycles were expensive, not anymore. I bought our boat knowing I have young kids. I was new to boating. I was gonna do things. I was gonna scratch the hull, and it made me so much more calm learning the docking, maneuvering, and unloading and loading onto the boat trailer. Just knowing that, hey, I've already accepted the fact I'm gonna scratch this boat. I'm gonna do silly stuff as I learn the process. So, with that being said, I strongly recommend, when you buy a bike, you know, maybe buy a used bike or buy a new bike already accepting the fact you're going to drop it. It's part of motorcycling, it's part of the experience. It is what it is. You know, here I am sitting on a 20 some odd $1,000 2019 Harley Street Glide. You know, it's not perfect. I bought it that way. I've been riding for years. I don't want it to be perfect. I dropped this bike in Georgia on our way to Daytona. Well, I brought it down like a sand beach road, and I'm so glad that I did, because it was like such a highlight of our adventure. You know, it was just silliness. I didn't actually hurt the bike, but it was funny, it was fun, part of the adventure. Okay, so maybe now you got your bike, you're ready to start venturing out. Maybe you got your license. You know, figure out what type of riding you want to do and start small. You know, if that means just going up and down your block, around your block, till you get a little bit more comfortable, do that. If you're able to trailer it somewhere, you know, maybe you live in a city and you want to trailer it somewhere that's not so hectic, do that. You know, stay within your comfort zone as you're learning this machine, how to operate it, how to maneuver it around. It's a great idea. You know, maybe you want to get into actually traveling by a motorcycle, but you just don't have the endurance on it yet. These things are not as comfortable as sitting in your car. You know, you get hit with a lot of wind, even on these big touring bikes with the big fairings. You get hit with a lot. You feel the cold, you feel the heat, you smell all the smells. You know, you hear everything. It's all this stuff adds up and tires you out quicker. You know, so maybe you want to do some adventure. Start small. Start with a 45-minute trip. You know, work your way up till you get comfortable, till you get used to traveling on your motorcycle. You know, if you're more into the sport bike thing, stay in your comfort zone. You know, go to the tracks and actually, you know, take some classes there if you want to learn how to, you know, really lean that thing over. Do it on the track. Please don't do it on the street. Don't get me wrong. There's places that you can safely do it on the street, which I get. But, yeah, keep yourself and everyone else safe. You know, if you're into more of the off-road, enduro, adventure style stuff, and you don't have any off-road experience, start small. Start with the unpaved roads, the gravel roads. You know, talk to other people. Facebook is loaded with tons of groups that are probably local to you. I live in a pretty rural area, and there's still a ton of groups around. You can find different people to meet up with. You can find different trails, or, you know, class 4 roads, or whatever you're looking for. This goes for anything. You wanna find riding groups. Oh, it's my buddy Shane. you want to find riding groups on your Harley or your Cruiser or your sport bike, whatever, Facebook is loaded with it. I've met so many cool people through Facebook. You know, maybe you're interested in a big cruiser like this. These actually are pretty easy bikes to ride. It is 900 pounds. It's a lot to handle in the parking lot. That's where it gets tricky. The moment you start moving, the weight almost becomes the stability. These things really are very easy to ride. I wouldn't recommend it as your first bike just because of the weight around the parking lot and maneuvering it. And honestly, there's bikes that just stop a heck of a lot quicker than something like this. So I personally would recommend a smaller motorcycle than something like this. Not that you can't do it, again, just subjective. And my last big tip for newer riders is you have to ride defensively. So once you get comfortable and you're out on the street like this, your head needs to be on a swivel. You need to know who's where. You have to be very aware of your surroundings. In fact, I drive my wife crazy when she's on the back because my head is constantly going left to right, because I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking at my mirrors. I know who's behind me. I know who's in front of me. I know who's on each side of me. Be aware. Always give yourself an out coming up to a stoplight or something like that. You got a car in front of you, car behind you. You know, stop to the side in case the car behind you doesn't stop. It bumps you forward and not into the car in front of you. Also, maybe you can see in your rear view, this car is not going to stop. Let me pull up and move to the side of the vehicle in front of me. You know, always give yourself an out. You know, travel slower and even more aware if you're traveling at night, especially if you live in an area like me where deer are everywhere, or just raccoons or foxes, anything can run out in front of you. And they do it all the time. So keep your eyes peeled. You have to be aware. So many distractions today, so many drivers looking on their phone. So you really do need to be a very defensive motorcycle rider. Yeah, so I really hope that some of these tips helped you. You know, I've been riding bikes for many years. I love it. It's a passion. Wind therapy is a very real thing. It is a stress reliever. Traveling, I love traveling, and to me there is no better way than traveling by motorcycle. You kind of have to learn to be a minimalist a little bit. You have to bring only what you can carry, which is awesome. I enjoy it. There's something peaceful about that. And like I said earlier about endurance and you know, you have to build that up to be able to traveling long distances. That's also amazing because while you're traveling, you really experience what you're traveling through. So I'll say this again, you feel it, you feel the colds, you feel the hot, you smell the smells. You really experience it much more than being inside of a car, having that bubble around you with the windshield. So I hope you absolutely love motorcycling as much as I do. If you have other questions or different areas you want me to touch on, leave me a comment below. If this video helped you at all, smash that like button if you liked it. And I hope you consider subscribing. I have all kinds of motorcycle-based stuff on my channel. A lot of adventures, a couple how-tos, products, installs. You know, that motorcycle or that dirt bike that was in my garage, the whole restoration was on that. Some off-road adventures with that BMW, all kinds of good stuff. So I hope you'll stick around, and we'll see you on the next one.